What happened in the previous chapter was the start of the Divine Visionary Selection exam. In the first event, the Dead Servant's Haunt, Mash met his senior, Max Land. After that, they teamed up to get the key they needed to pass. After acquiring it, it was shown that Dot, Lance, and Margaret also got keys. Max let Mash go ahead and said that he would take care of getting another key. It turned out that the reason Max let Mash go ahead was that he sensed Carpaccio was coming. Back at the arena, Mash had returned, and while they were chatting, Carpaccio arrived, dragging Max's body. He stepped on Max and trash-talked him. Mash warned him not to do that unless he wanted to be punched. Carpaccio called other people weak, but Mash had not yet met anyone stronger than him. Because of this, there was an intense aura between the two contestants. What's up, Onii-Chan? Welcome back to our manga recap series about Mashle, Magic and Muscles, a story with elements of Harry Potter and One Punch Man. So, let's start the video. Continuing the thrilling story of Mash in a world full of magic. Let's go back to what Mash said to Carpaccio. After that, as Mash was explaining that the definition of strength varies, he couldn't remember where the differences lie. Carpaccio just stared at him as Mash searched for the right word. Someone shouted that Mash just confused himself. As the other contestants were watching, the host suddenly shouted and said to wait. They were to fight only after the examination, and they were expected to understand that. The contestants just looked on. To not prolong the situation, the next round would begin. The contestants were surprised because the color of their robes changed. Finn noticed this and also realized that they were divided into 3 teams. The host then announced, "Welcome to your next exam, the Life Crystals." It was a team battle with 3 members per team. And because there were 9 of them, they would be divided into 3 teams. Connected to that, each member of each team would be given a crystal. The goal of that exam was to break the crystals of the opposing teams. And the team whose all crystals are broken will be disqualified. Due to that explanation, Mash was flabbergasted again, and he started to drool. Dot then yelled, claiming that due to the host's long explanation, Mash went into a coma, so the host should make it easier to understand. The host simplified it and said that the team fight involves breaking each other's crystals. Dot shouted again, saying they just need to break the enemy's crystals, while Mash repeated, "Mash smash crystals." Finn thought that Lance was on a different team, so how would they be able to pull this off? Suddenly, there was a sound that made Finn turn. It turned out that their crystals had been distributed, and the host reminded them to take care of them because they could easily be broken. Looking at the crystal, Finn said that their fate depended on those crystals. But since each of them had 1 crystal, and all of them needed to be broken before they could lose, it would be okay if his got broken right away. However, he suddenly heard a breaking sound, and when he turned around, Mash had already broken his. Apparently, Mash had dropped it, which caused Finn to scream. Finn calmed down and thought it would be okay because Dot still had a crystal. Nevertheless, when he also turned to look at Dot, Dot had already broken his as well. Dot said he wished they had been told the thing was slippery, which caused Finn to scream loudly again. The two became depressed while Finn thought that if his gets broken, they are done for. Both Dot and Finn told him not to worry because they would protect his crystal. Finn's courage returned at this point. Suddenly, the exam began, and they were teleported to the next stage. The contestants were separated into their respective teams to make things more exciting. Finn was then shown alone and seemingly unsure of what to do. Before long, he became depressed and cried, wondering why they were separated in a team battle. Mash was shown and said it was important for him to find Finn immediately. Dot, on the other hand, was nervous and thought that they are in deep trouble. He needed to quickly find Finn. In another part of the stage, Lance was thinking that Finn's situation was dangerous. While walking, Finn was thinking he needed to protect the crystal with his life. Suddenly, he heard someone asking for forgiveness. Looking over, he saw Pontorus kneeling in front of Carpaccio, who was staring at him. Finn also noticed that Pontorus seemed to be badly beaten up. He also saw a knife embedded in Carpaccio's shoulder. While removing the knife, Carpaccio said talent is not something that is evenly distributed. Their birth, he said, decides who can reach the top. Suddenly, Pon screamed with blood coming out of his mouth and chest. Carpaccio told him that it's important to live a life that suits you. Finn was thinking that this was even worse than bad news, considering what Carpaccio was capable of doing, and he needed to stay away from him. When he heard Carpaccio move, Finn tried to hide his presence by pretending to be an inanimate object. He said he was a wall, so Carpaccio should move away. He closed his eyes and committed to being a wall. Before long, he opened his eyes and peeked, where he didn't see Carpaccio anymore. However, it turned out that Carpaccio was behind him, which startled Finn. Carpaccio asked him what he was doing. Finn closed his eyes again and said that he couldn't speak because he was a wall. Carpaccio said it seemed like Finn would be fun to play with as he summoned a monster behind him. Finn was whimpering, wishing that someone would help him. Mash was shown running at an extraordinary speed. As Carpaccio stared at Finn, he was begging in his mind that he would kiss feet or lick toes just to be saved. Carpaccio then made his summon return. While trembling with fear, Carpaccio recognized that he was facing Finn Ames. Finn wondered why Carpaccio knew him. He remembered Finn as the continuing student who almost failed. Finn thought that he had become famous in a bad way. Carpaccio remembered him, and from the deepest part of his heart, he wondered why Finn was in Easton. And now, he was also in the Divine Visionary selection exams. Was it Tess Rain who got him in there? He couldn't help but feel disgusted when he saw talentless trash like Finn. He intensely ordered Finn to give him his crystal because it wasn't right for him to be there. He should give it to him. Scary. Finn started crying and thought that he might be the scariest thing he has seen. However, that crystal supposedly held Mash's future. Finn tightened his grip on the crystal and decided to protect it until the end. Suddenly, blood came out of his chest and he also vomited blood. Finn knelt down there and wondered why he was bleeding. He thought that maybe magic caused it. Carpaccio asked him what he was doing. When Finn did not answer, Carpaccio said that he had asked the weakling why he was acting like a big shot. He then asked if we knew the feeling when we are extremely terrified. When our blood vessels seem to be closing and there is a chill creeping towards our heart. Carpaccio said that Finn must be aware of the difference in their strength. Finn was going to lose anyway, so he should just give up his crystal so he won't get hurt anymore. Finn didn't know what to do. Finn apparently did not want to end up like Pontoris. Carpaccio said he wouldn't ask again and told Finn to just give it up. Finn lowered his head while tightening his grip on the crystal. Elsewhere, Margaret was walking, thinking that there seemed to be three standouts there. Mash, who can't use magic, Lance, who took first place among the entering students, and the man who maintained his position as first among the continuing students. Carpaccio. She always imagined that he was like her who was not interested in being a divine visionary. So her guess was that Order also made a deal with him. He was a prodigy chosen by a wand that could be a national treasure. In terms of talent, it was not an exaggeration to call him the best in the school. She paid tribute to those students, to the abundant and blessed grace of the world. She also thanked every living being and her parents for giving birth to her. After that, Finn was shown still being tormented by Carpaccio. Carpaccio could not understand Finn's stubbornness because he would eventually get the crystal anyway. Finn kept telling himself not to give up. He just needed to protect the crystal to win. Carpaccio was belittling him, so this was his chance. He hadn't used his personal magic yet. Finn took out his wand and shouted dangerous. Carpaccio looked up, but nothing happened. He realized that Finn had tricked him while he was running. He would catch him eventually. When Finn had moved away a little, he cast changes and suddenly Carpaccio was teleported. Carpaccio realized that the place was where he had broken Pon's crystal. He noticed that it was gone, so he thought that Finn's magic could swap the positions of objects. Finn hadn't used any magic since earlier, so he thought it was because he wanted to lower his defenses. While running, Finn was thinking that he had managed to get quite far. It was smart of him to keep his personal magic hidden until the very last possible moment. Now he could run from Carpaccio. However, his legs suddenly started bleeding while he was running. Because of that, he tripped. While writhing in pain, Carpaccio swapped places with him. He asked him if that was a last-ditch effort. Now he was sure that Finn knew how they were different. He stepped on Finn's injured foot and demanded the crystal. Finn still tightened his grip on the crystal while writhing in pain, causing Carpaccio to lose patience. He said that the weak needed to give up while stabbing himself. Because of this, Finn screamed in pain. The audience was worried and asked what kind of magic it was, saying that Carpaccio was going too far. Suddenly, Finn spoke, surprising Carpaccio. He said that Carpaccio would not be able to take the crystal. Finn reminisced about how Mash had been a kind friend to him, while he called himself a loser and a coward, but he vowed that he would never stoop so low as to abandon a friend. Carpaccio's stare grew more and more intense. Finn quickly used Naokos, but in the end, he was easily stopped by Carpaccio, and a large amount of blood splattered from his body. Carpaccio told him to stop because it was ugly. Seeing people who never succeed, despite giving their all, was the most irritating thing to him. Carpaccio pointed his knife at his own throat and said that he would show that Finn's efforts were in vain. The audience was disturbed, thinking that if Carpaccio continued, Finn would die. As Carpaccio was driving the knife into his own throat, Finn remained calm. The audience was restless as Finn's life was in danger. However, our protagonist arrived and slammed Carpaccio into the wall. Mash then said that Finn's efforts were not wasted because he was there. Mash called out to Finn and thanked him for his sacrifice. Finn stared as Mash called his name. And that's where this video ends. Do you think our hero can defeat this formidable opponent? Can they protect the remaining crystal? Write your comments down below. If you want more anime and manga recaps, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on new videos.